Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to another episode on CK's Reef. This is Cement Kid here, and I just want to give you an update on this tank. So, I just want to point out this whole episode is going to be about carbon dosing and how beneficial it is. I set this tank up on January 27th. So, today, on the day of making this video, it is April 19th. So you're talking just under 3 months this tank is running, but it's a very short amount of time, relatively speaking, for tanks. But at the same time, it is 3 months just about. And I just want to point out that this is the first tank that I carbon dosed from the start, and there is not a stitch of algae in this tank. It's just, I feel like it's too good to be true. I'm going to be honest with you, but in all the tanks I set up at this point, there's always been an algae bloom of some sort, whether it's diatoms or dinoflagellates or whatever it is. Sometimes a little green hair algae, But this time I started to use the Tropic Marin carbon dosing method right from the start. My parameters were already within the Bacto balance range, which is around zero point 0.3 phosphate, and I think it was 6 nitrate. So, excuse me, 0.03 phosphate and 0.6 nitrate. So I started dosing half of the recommended dose, which is 1.5 milliliters a day. And I never got an algae outbreak in this tank. And the amazing thing is the corals are already growing and are thriving in this tank. And I mean, it's just, I cannot believe it. There's also little spots, I don't know if you could see with this camera. Right now, the violet is pretty heavy on the light. But coralline algae is starting to grow on the rocks. So once that populates and takes control of the rocks, then I think I'm just totally out of the woods. But for now, I cannot talk good enough or enough about the Tropic Marin line of carbon dosing. It's just amazing. If you guys aren't familiar with it, definitely check out some of Lou Ikas's videos. I mention him a lot on my channel. Never met the guy, never spoke to him, but I am a big supporter of his products, or I should say Tropic Marin's products, which he is a big part of. So as you see here, just under 3 months, not a stitch of algae. And from the last episode, as I mentioned, I was going to add a clam. As you see, that's the clam right there. Beautiful. That's about 1.75 inches, almost 2 inches in width. And you see my anemone moved, and he is just, I mean, happier than ever. He's never been that big. I'm sure you could see how big he is in this video as opposed to the last videos that I did. As I mentioned, he got sick. I almost killed him because my parameters just skyrocketed by some overdosing. But once recovered, I mean, this thing is just thriving. And this is a 3-month-old tank. So, you know, it can be done as long as you hold the parameters stable. The only downside of this whole process, one mistake I made, if you see that top left right there of the bird's nest right there, it was directly in front of the power head, which I moved the power head. The power head was about here. I moved it to where it is now. So too much flow. I blasted it and blew it out. So that one piece of the bird's nest is bleaching out a little bit. So I'm going to see if it recovers now that I moved the power head. If it doesn't, I'm just going to cut that piece off because I don't want to start any kind of tissue RTN, you know, necrosis. So, you know, I'll cut that off right from the start. So I'm running violet, as I mentioned, in my lights, and my corals responded by the pigments are changing so nicely, and not dramatically, but this orange piece up top, this Montipora, it's a bright orange now. It wasn't that bright when I purchased it, and you can't really see in this camera, but there is like these little, like neon orange polyps that come out of it. I don't know if what you would call them polyps or just definition of the flesh or whatever it is, but just absolutely beautiful. This one up top is changing as well. If you go back to my last video, you'll see this area right here. There was a totally flat, smooth portion on that skeletal structure, and I think it might have been because it was growing against something. But it's filling out now. It's starting to get some pointed structure to it, and it's starting to look like the rest of the structure. The only thing I don't like about that is it's not resting on a rock 100%. As I mentioned, it's kind of just like posted there. And I don't know if it's going to form to that rock the way it is. And there's definitely a dead spot underneath it. But the algae blenny loves to hang out under there. So I may move that. I may actually, I don't know, maybe frag it. I may cut it, make it a little flatter, cut off those side pieces. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm willing to do that yet. But that's pretty much that. So on the bottom of the tank, you'll see I added a couple of mushrooms here. The one on the left is a bright yellow mushroom. The one on the right is a bright orangish red one. There's a 8-can here, 8-can here, and of course I also added this fast-growing Montipora here, and this is a plate coral here, chalice rather, here. So I'm expecting this chalice to take this rock over. This is obviously going to encrust this whole rock. It's already growing over the sides. When I first, it's amazing how fast this thing is growing. It's just within a week and a half, it started to take off over the sides of this frag plug, and it's already overlapping onto the rock. So this whole thing is going to be taken over. This Montipora I was talking about earlier, it's on a rock. This is a separate rock here. So I'm going to have to make a decision here, whether I'm going to leave that there or maybe move it lower to the tank over here, because I have a Montipora here and an encrusting coral here. So this is being how fast it grows. These guys are all going to compete with each other. So I'm going to probably take this frag off and move it to somewhere in the back of the tank where there's still a decent amount of light. This tank has got a great 3D view to it. So I'm thinking somewhere in this area here. We'll see. But I got plenty of time for that. But this is the update. Today, like I said, is the 19th. I set this up on the 28th of January. So another 9 days will be the 3-month mark of this tank. And it's doing fantastic. So filtration is the same. I added this carbon reactor here. It's very small. Has the motor on the bottom. It's kind of similar to a footprint of a skimmer. So it's very easy. I can just pull it out and change the carbon and put it back in, and it's working great. So I eliminated the carbon bag I had in there, and that's pretty much it, man. Like I said, I want to update this tank as much as possible on YouTube so you guys can keep up with it, because I know me personally, I like to watch tanks grow on people's channels and see how successful or you know, where they failed, and learn from it, and give credit where it's due. So that's pretty much it, man. Also, I changed the dosing lines because they were splashing. I had them hanging from the light, wrapping up the light fixture and dripping. But what happened was I was getting a big splash, so the alkalinity was leaving white residue all over the place, which I didn't like. So I just ended up changing it. It's makeshift right now. I'm probably going to 3D print something and make it really neat. But for now, there's no splashing, which is all I'm concerned about. So that's pretty much it, man. Thank you guys so much for joining and watching again. The next video, I'm not really going to put much more livestock in here yet. At this point, I think the tank is pretty much where it should be as far as how many animals are in the tank. I think there's like 15 or 16 pieces in here. So at this point, I want to let things grow and kind of naturally take their form onto the structure of the rocks. And it's just going to look more and more natural as time goes on. So, and at that point, I'm going to be doing what I call filling, which I'm going to use softies and leathers and stuff like that, and polyps to fill up the areas like inside here, and areas where I feel like it's just a little barren. But of course, we're going to let these grow and see what happens. And you know, we're going to take it on a monthly basis at this point. But that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.